Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 114 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show and podcast. I'm your host, the self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex, and joining me today are my usual suspects, Barry Stokes and Scott Williams. Barry, where in the world are you today? Ah, that's where he is.
I don't know what's going on because you paused for about 5 seconds at the start of that when it said recording began as well. So
Did it? I thought, oh, well, there might be a
yeah,
big gap at the beginning then.
yeah.
I don't
Even
know
for
what
our
happened then.
standards, even for our really high standards, this is up there, isn't it?
That's a great start. I'm going to keep it though. Let's keep rolling with it. Barry, we has immediately just dropped off because he's somewhere outside of Sports Direct. He was telling me on his way back from like Leicester. So yeah, it looks like his signal's gone. Scott, how are you?
Yeah. I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, getting ready for my holidays, getting some warm weather training in the south of Spain for 10 days. So yeah, looking forward to that, especially when the country's getting colder. It's feels like a nice time to get some sun. Yeah,
We're
all
going
good.
to be we're going to really miss you off the pod next week and maybe the week after. It depends how the days work out, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll be missing Scotty for next week. So we'll see if we get any special guests on. Reach out to us if you would like to appear on the podcast. How about that? I've not done that before. It'll show to us who's definitely listening, mate. Won't it? And
Yeah.
yeah, reach out if you want to be the new Scott Williams for a week. But thanks so much for everyone for tuning in and still listening after a bit of a shambolic start. Don't forget to follow us on the All in don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. All in Four Pod, All in Four P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And don't forget to like the YouTube video, subscribe to our channel, and also like the podcast and give us a subscribe and 5 stars wherever you get those from. Let's get on with Manager of the Week for game week 5. Was it game week 5? It was game week 5. Um, for Dream 11 for Ahmad Fahim. He was the only man to get 100 points. He took a -4, so 96 net, but 100 points overall in terms of gross. Great. What an absolute great selection this week. The Luis Diaz captain, fantastic. Really paid off for that fixture this week. 32 points. Sanchez, Trent as well with 11. Dallo as well with maximum bonus points in the 0-0 draw with Crystal Palace and Manchester United. Porro, Saka, Madueke, Palmer, Heung-min Son, Solanke, and Duran. So well done there. And he even had Wood, Mazraoui, and Henderson all on his bench. So he managed to still have pick the best goalkeeper and getting 10 and 9 points out of those guys. And yeah, so really well done to you. Let's have a really quick look now at the podcast league because we're 5 game weeks in now. And it's just nice to finally see a green arrow by my name, actually, even though I've gone from 72nd to 70th from average after a couple of really bad weeks. I got needled at work as well this week, thanks to Lewis Last. If you are listening, Lewis, yes, I am doing badly, and you are beating me this season. But the podcast league, we've got Sam Kimoni still top by quite a long way, actually. You've had a fantastic start, Sam. You are 27 points clear of a friend of the podcast, Sam Danby Bailey,
I think
389.
I think I had a look at the top Sam as well, and I don't think he's actually. I thought, oh, this person must have used a couple of chips. He's just gone for it. I don't think he's used any chips. Or him, her.
Really?
Sorry, don't know.
Yeah. Amazing. But really, 416 is a cracking number. Mark Anderson in third. I hope he won Kenobi nil. Absolutely brilliant name. Great shout out to you there, Mark. I love that name. 384 points. Kieran Ball with the crystal balls. Another good name. And Marco there in fifth. He's still up there, Marco. And then no one cares about the next lot. No, of course we do, Scott. We'll talk about them. Sixth is Charles Takaveda. Seventh, Arif Khan. Eighth, Scott Williams. Ninth, on exactly the same points, Judith Williams.
Breathing down my neck.
Scott's head on transfers made, I think. That's what it is so
Yeah.
far. And James Stevens, the FPL champion of 2025, according to his name, is there in 10th, so still stands a chance. So well done to all of you guys in the top 10. Cracking start to the season, and yeah, a lot to great foundations to build on for the rest of the season. Barry, you back?
I am.
Where are you? What are you doing?
Trying to find signal. It's unstable like my FPL season so far. So yeah, it's a joy driving around trying to find some signal.
Yes. We already had Barry, before Scott even joined the call, move from one service station to the next to try and find some signal, basically. And now he's trying to get some sponsorship outside of the local Sports Direct. And seeing if Mike
Yeah,
Ashley's about, I've heard.
that's right. Yeah.
Well, if anyone wants to tap up Mike Ashley and
I
get
was
him to
I went in
sponsor
Sports
Direct.
Direct in White Rose yesterday, and I'll say it's a borderline disgrace how long I was queuing for. Like, and there were just people chatting at the back. So I don't know if Mike is listening to the podcast. Really need to sort that store out, pal. I think they just take it for granted. They get a lot of football. It's next to a really good, what's the name? Really good food court as well. So it's not on, to be honest with you. A good selection of stuff, though. I will say that. But yeah, not on at all. So sort it out, Mike.
Uh, Thanks for that, and I'm sure he'll DM me later on. Absolutely, without a doubt. There's only one place to start, lads, isn't there? And we've got to talk about the game of the season so far in terms of the title race, and the massive fallout off the back of it. Injuries.
It was Palace and Man U. Yeah, let's
It
start there.
was. Yeah, I mean, I will get it in there. We're second in the league, Man United. Second in the
Really?
league. Yeah, for XG. Yeah.
All
So-
right. Okay. I was so shocked. I was like,
I wonder where it's
I've
going with
seen-
that.
Yeah, I've seen the
it's
league table.
It's yeah, we're definitely not ahead of City and Arsenal, that's for sure. And Brighton are still unbeaten, aren't they? Or so are Forest. What a weird start to the season. Anyway, City Arsenal. Let's talk about the fallout. Let's start with the Rodri injury, because I do think that is very significant. I mean, didn't they only ever win since the Champions League final loss to Chelsea a few years back? I think August this year was the first time they've won back-to-back games without him. I mean, it's a big old loss, isn't it? Does this put the title into Arsenal's hands, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were saying it was a coin flip before, I mean, a lot of people are touting Rodri to be Ballon d'Or winner this year. Obviously, everything he's done over the last couple of seasons with Man City, and then winning the Euros with Spain. Such a key player. He does his job, so all those amazing young attacking players can do theirs. Yeah, massive blow. When you look at actually who's going to come into that, Kovacic, I think, started the season well, because obviously Rodri didn't start the first couple of games of the season. I thought he's done really well in there, but he ain't Rodri at the end of the day. And who else do you think could come in there? Maybe a John Stones could come into there in certain games. Obviously, the other player they've got is out on loan. They've got Calvin Phillips, who's I believe played a game and then got injured. So sounds about right. But yeah, I think I wasn't convinced about Arsenal until the last two games, where they had key players out at Spurs and did a job at Spurs, and then how they reacted to that first 15 minutes. I think someone put it in one of our WhatsApp groups. This could be 6 or 7 here. The way Man City started that game, but the way they didn't panic, they kept it together and they played them way into the game. I was so impressed and people like moaning about Arteta ball second half. You're 2-1 up against Man City with 10 men. You're obviously going to do that. You're an idiot.
Away from home as well, at the Etihad.
Yeah,
but of course you're going to park the bus.
Of course you are.
What else are you going to do?
That's the first. Those two games are the first time I've gone. Yeah, actually, yeah, Arsenal can win this league. Like I thought last year, we said on the pod, I believe me and you both said City would win. Mr. Stokes went for Arsenal. But now I think it's a different game. I'll be honest, even without that Rodri injury, I just how they've played those last two games has really convinced me that this Arsenal team can win it. But I think now I'm like, actually, with Rodri out, I think they will win it.
So solid at the back, only 3 goals conceded this season so far as well. Obviously 2 in that last game against Manchester City. Got to ask about the annoying, controversial incidents, which I don't really like. I see, it gets a bit tiring, doesn't it? Really, but with the kicking the ball away situations and the red card as well for Trossard, right decision, Barry. And should Doku have got a yellow? Was he just kicking the ball back to where the free kick was supposed to be taken from? Let's quickly gloss over this, shall we? Quickly.
For me, I think he could have easily been booked for the foul on, was it Bernardo Silva?
Yeah.
He just rammed him, like didn't even go for it ball. He like went led with his elbow for that's a bit that. It didn't even look like he was going for it. So for me, could have got a yellow for that, and then kicking the ball away. He's kicked it, not a little tap like Rice. I think Rice was really unlucky on that front, but he's kicked it 40 yards. Yeah, you could say he's tried to pass it to Martinelli and all this, but no, he's blatantly stopped the restart. Doku, the whistle hadn't even gone. The ball's not in the right position. He's just kicking it back to where it should be. So that's a no on me on that one. Regarding Man City, I still think the favourites. The main factor is they've got Haaland. He's got a goal scorer. You've got Kovacic that can play there, not as well as Rodri. You've got Kovacic, you've got Stones, and you've also got Lewis as well. You've got to think as well. I'm playing that if you're more attacking minded. He's not got the physical presence like Rodri or Kovacic or Stones, but he's a good ball player and he joins in there. And I think Guardiola could do a stint in there as well, to be fair.
Well,
So
he
and
inverts, doesn't he, I suppose?
Akanji's done it as well. So yeah, so there's plenty of options, and also they could just go in there and just buy like Joshua Kimmich or Goetze or something like that. So yeah, I still find them favourites because of the Haaland factor.
It's funny. I would say that Rodri's a bigger loss than Haaland, and I only say that because they've won 2 league titles with Rodri and without Haaland and with Rodri. So like they've done it before with false nines and playing with different systems. I think he's the biggest player they could have lost. I think he's the most important loss for them out of all.
I think
And I know Haaland puts the ball in the net, but they've done it before without him. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. It just depends how easy they'll be able to adapt back. They're so used to playing with Haaland now. So it's like, how easy can they adapt back to how they used to play and how quickly can they do that? I think that would be a big factor. But we'll see it because as brilliant as he is, he's injury prone. He's going to miss games this season because he will get injured. So it's going to be interesting to see how they react because they've got no, help me out.
Alvarez.
Alvarez. They got no
backup
Alvarez
player.
now. Yeah. So
Without him, they have to play a false nine. I just think that's fine. I just think that what they're like. They're good enough. Pep's a good enough coach, but that is a key factor really in terms of City still being around. They're 13 goals scored already in 5 games, whereas Arsenal have only scored 8. So although Arsenal probably look better at the back, City obviously are the team that are absolutely banging the goals in. Yeah, I think obvious Trossard sending off. I think Doku would have been harshly yellow carded. It's not like the João Pedro one in the game before, which was just an absolute joke that he didn't get booked for kicking the ball away, and then they moaned about Rice after. So they had a reason to. Yeah, whatever to the dark art stuff. I think that's just classic and typical, and I like Pep's reaction. Pep's not said anything about it. Totally agree with that. I like that from him. He's not. Some of his players have been a bit vocal, but he's not come out and criticised Arteta at all, which I think is good. At least I've not seen anything. Haaland retrospective action should have got VAR, should have got sent off, throwing the ball at people's heads. Can we start letting people get away with that? We'll start seeing it every week. What do you think then, Scott? Should he have been sent off?
It should have. Well, what we need to happen is hopefully at some point we'll get VAR, this thing called VAR in place. That'll be really good because they can see everything that happens on it. I mean, no retrospective action, only retrospective action against the people in the VAR because they should have seen that and gone, actually, that's violent conduct. He's purposely thrown it at his head and sent him off. They can't do anything now, and not for me. I don't think it's one of those where it's like they can look back at it. They shouldn't ever be looking back at decisions now. Them days are gone. We've got VAR. Like, it wasn't reckless or dangerous, but at the end of the day, like they needed to send them off because how many kids are watching that game and think actually it'd be fine just to throw a ball at someone's head and actually that can result in much, on a child that can be quite dangerous. So yeah, should have been a checking with violent conduct, red card to Haaland.
Interesting, because I've heard some people say that they couldn't do it because apparently in the rules that's a yellow. I mean, I don't know how that all works, and the VAR can't give yellows but can give reds. I don't. What, Baz? Quick thought on this one again. What's your take on the?
I just think it was just for the fact of the dark arts, and he's like, "Hey, he scored against you. We have a bit of that." Yeah, it was thrown at him quite aggressively at his head, but I just think it was just thanks for scoring kind of thing. Like, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it in my eyes. But like what Scott said, kids watching it could obviously pass it on and it would go down into the grassroots football. I think that's the only downside to that. But for me personally, I wouldn't bother doing anything. I think just let it go on.
One thing I will say, it was really funny, especially when like because he had his t-shirt over his head. It
was
was
funny.
hilarious. I don't personally care about it, but like I said, on the grand scheme of things, I think it should have been a red. But it was hilarious what happened. And
Yeah.
you know what as well, like we grew up watching this great Man United Arsenal rivalry. You know, the needle between like Man United and Chelsea, the Mourinho Chelsea now, and just like all that great like media, like needle and that. It was just really good to see that needle, and that's a real rivalry now. That Man City Arsenal, brilliant, and
Like the Martin Keown and Ruud van Nistelrooy.
yeah, like we don't see it enough. It's passionate, and like Haaland at the end, just like mouthing off. It's like, well, brilliant. Like he cares about it. None of this. Oh, let's all just shake hands. Or let's have a cuddle. You know, before before the game the other week, they're all cuddling. Big rivals cuddling in the tunnels and that. Shouldn't be doing that. Like I think it's only a matter of time as well. I think it's gonna, Arteta and Pep, obviously really good pals. The more this happens, that's gonna strain that relationship. And you're saying he's not coming out saying about anything about dark arts. I think that's because he's got big respect for Arteta. But watch the space on that one. And I love the fact that we've got a proper rivalry again.
I think it's fantastic as well. I like, and also if I was Arsenal, and that's where I'd look at it from this perspective, seeing Haaland saying "stay humble" and throwing balls and stuff, I'd be like, "We've got them right." They now think that we can beat them. Like they now think they have to take us seriously. I don't know what it is about the last two seasons. Even though Arsenal have been close, really close last year, it's just never really felt like they were ever going to win the league. Whereas I feel like this season's the first season I've been like, I think they stand a really good chance of winning this Premier League. And let's not forget about the fact that above Arsenal at the moment are Liverpool and Aston Villa in the league. So that top four, the top four of last season, the top four of this season so far, and they're all performing really well. So it's all looking really, really good for Ange to win the league in his second season, and for Ten Hag's XG United to come and break that top four. Let's go, the boys. I want to talk about lineups for this game, the City Arsenal, because we do need to talk about Arsenal as a team. Their fixtures turn from an FPL perspective in a really positive way. Now, they are the team that we will be looking at bringing players in from, absolutely. Without Ødegaard in the side, they started Saka, Martinelli and Trossard behind Kai Havertz. Rice and Partey at the back. They started Timber, Calafiore, Saliba and Gabriel with Raya. And they dropped Ben White, which I don't know if anyone's heard any reasons as to why. It feels odd, considering he's played really well for them, but to then play Timber and Calafiore, I don't. Have anyone heard any reasons why? And also, Baz, does this make him now not an FPL option? And it's Gabriel or Saliba, really, if you're going for a defender for Arsenal.
I think you'd probably be going for Gabriel if you're going for any of them. Or if you wanted the cheaper option, then you'd probably like gamble on Timber. He's lowly owned at 1.4%, as we'll see later in the draft picks. My question is, though, and my apprentice Phil Allen brought it up actually, is Havertz an option now? He looks a bit deeper without Ødegaard, and is he going to get you that more goals? So I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna bring him in. I might just bring one Arsenal in. So yeah, so that was a question to basically ask you, Peter. Would you, if you had a wild card, or you're gonna take a hit, like I'm probably gonna do this week, would you look at Havertz?
I think from an expected goals perspective, he's still top on terms of XG for Arsenal this season. I think, as far as I'm aware, yeah, still top in terms of XG. But he definitely wouldn't be the priority. The priority is Saka all day long from an attacking perspective.
What's his last two game weeks though without Ødegaard? Be interesting.
Yeah, let me
Two
just
2 points. Expected goals of 0.06 and 0.14.
Yeah, so the last
On it.
the last three appearances he's still top, but that takes in game week 3, so let's do 4 and 5. Yeah, so well, in terms of XG, he's still second, but only behind Gabriel, but it's 0.2, so it's nothing really, is it? Really, in terms of XG. No, I mean Gabriel scored obviously in the last two. Calafiore, I mean, look at the goal scorers. Gabriel with 2 and Calafiore with 1. You know, none of them have been
I think
delivering,
it.
but
I think it depends who
Saka was
you've got in
just
your team. For me, like I took Isaac out last week and brought Watkins in. Watkins again, not really, really good. Um, if I didn't make that change and I had the funds, I would potentially go Isaac to Havertz, just because of the fixture run now. But I think I'm fairly settled with having Watkins in. Like you said, last couple of weeks he's not done too much as Havertz. He didn't do any completed passes last game. So as much as I do want him in, like you say, I agree. I think you've got to have you've definitely got, if you've not already, you've got to have at least one defensive asset for Arsenal. And like you say, probably a Gabriel who you want right now. So it looks guaranteed to score from a corner. And yeah, you probably want a Saka in if you can as well. But yeah, I wouldn't be. The answer to the question is no, as I wouldn't.
I think if I was on a wild card right now, I'd have Havertz. I wouldn't be taking -4s and stuff to get him in, but I think if I was wild card, I think I probably would. I haven't looked at a wild card draft to see which other strikers I'd have instead. So he might not fit into a structure of a team that would work, but I think in an ideal world I would. I mean, the last 2 games have been against Spurs away and City away, so I'm not sat there going, I'm not bothered about the fact his XG is pretty low in those games. I kind of expect them to be that way. Whereas, now with Leicester at home, Southampton at home, and Bournemouth away in the next 3, I mean, those 2 next fixtures are just gin fixtures. They're fantastic. That's exactly the you want. I want if I could do anything right now, if I had a wild card, I'd probably have Gabriel, Saka, and Havertz, or I'd go double Arsenal defense and Saka. There's no way in hell I wouldn't have 3 Arsenal players for those 3 games. I think that would just be burning points. Probably might even be a Raya with Alisson being injured as well. If I was wild carding, might even be Raya, Gabriel, and Saka. So it's a fair point because he obviously hasn't looked as good. But I think also we have to remember as well, one of those games, yeah, he was playing for 10 men and everyone was just knocking the ball on. I mean, did he have the chance to pass the ball really much in that second half? I just could overreact to the stats there, but yeah, it depends what other options you'd have. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Scott. You've got Watkins now. That Ipswich away next. You obviously keep Watkins. Like you've got Haaland, Watkins, and if you've got João Pedro or Chris Wood or whatever as your other striker, I mean, you're not making any striker changes this week. That's for sure. Especially if you've got Chris Wood. I mean, because they've got Fulham at home, so it suits for that. Have you got João Pedro? That's who you've got, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he's happily on your bench, or you could even play him against Chelsea away. I mean, it's Chelsea away. You just don't really know what you're going to get with Chelsea still, do you? Looking better.
I'll say it's me that's
But-
got Watkins and Wood.
You got Watkins and Wood. Have you got Haaland, haven't you?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So front threes easy. So stuff. So what I wanted to get at from the defensive side. So obviously we're saying Gabriel first. Probably don't pick White. Gabriel first, then Raya, Saliba. Probably Raya over Saliba in terms of value and what we're coming back to. We've got Saka as the obvious first choice. Trossard serves his ban in the Carabao Cup this week. Am I right? I think. Yeah. So he's available.
Yeah. By the way, yeah, that's
Worst rule ever, yeah?
Yeah, that's so
I hate it.
poor. Like, it's ridiculous.
So with you. It's like when United played Newcastle in that final, and did Guimaraes got sent off in the semi-final? I think it was.
Yeah.
But he could serve his ban fully before the final.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here? Anyway, yes, I totally agree. Nonsense rule. But Trossard, Martinelli, potential options for people, especially we're talking about wildcarding into game week 8. We've got 2 fixtures here. Odegaard's not going to be back. Let's talk about a value midfielder from Arsenal to get in the teams. Should we be looking at one of these 2 lads, Baz? What do you think?
It's difficult because I really like Martinelli, but he hasn't really been playing as good as I'd like him to be. And Trossard, after getting that red card, is he going to get dropped and is he going to play Jesus? So it's a tricky one for me, and maybe go for Scotsman Declan Rice.
Maybe value at 6.3. I think Trossard at 6.9 and Martinelli at 6.9. They'll offer a lot better value in terms of getting into attacking positions. That's all I'd say. It's only 0.6. It's not like we're looking at 3 million extra for them or anything else like that. Martinelli, 5 appearances, 4 of them being starts this year as well. Only one coming off the bench. He's got 1 assist, which is not the best in the world, but still is expected.
Them stats could be lying because Odegaard's been injured. So would he played more if Odegaard played? Because Odegaard would have played, and then it's between him and Trossard or Martinelli, isn't it? So for me, I think Trossard's
I'm talking about these.
preferred,
Yeah, I'm talking about these 2 weeks in particular. If you had for a 2-week punt, I think a lot of people will be able to afford to go from maybe a Doku or a player like that, and if maybe they can't afford Mbeumo at 7.2 and they can get to 6.9, would you go Martinelli or Trossard, Scott? Which one?
I'd go Martinelli. Like I say, he started all but 1 game, and yeah, I would. I would also just keep an eye on the Carabao Cup this week and just see what happens there. Obviously, he's gonna play, but just see his minutes. Like if his minutes are looked after, he's more than likely going to play at the weekend. But yeah, I think for me, I've been thinking about like, is it worth me doing like 2 or 3 transfers trying to get Saka in, or just doing a free transfer to get like a Martinelli? And I think it's a tricky one because you've also got to look at your team as well. Like kind of Wolves are terrible, so I kind of don't want to get Salah out, which would be the easy transfer for me to then get Saka in. Jota got dropped last game, didn't play a minute. Matoma not done a lot since I brought him in. I'd rather those 2 kind of players. I don't want to get rid of Rodgers or Smith Rowe because why would I? They're both playing brilliant. So it's like I would probably rather look at doing something with that. So I am contemplating getting a Martinelli, and I don't know. It still really hurt me from like a couple of years ago, and I've not emotionally recovered from that.
It's 2 free transfers if you've got them, and that's great. So I've got 2 frees this week. I banked last week, and I'm going to go Jota out, Saka in, and then find the money in another player. And that's exactly the move I'm going to do this week. I've already planned. I really wanted to go on Mbeumo in for Jota, and then go Salah out for Saka, and just do it for 2 weeks. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I brought Salah in for 2 weeks, and he's done 1 assist, and he set the world on fire in the first 3 weeks when I didn't have him. So I don't know. It's just the way it's all worked out so far this year.
It goes back to that eye test as well. I only watch the highlights in Liverpool, but he looked really good again on the highlights. Did Salah? He looked like he was getting into dangerous position. So yeah.
Oh, I don't want to sell him. If I can avoid it, I'm definitely going to go Saka in for Jota and then just downgrade a defender for 2 weeks. I mean, maybe get someone like Guardiola out or something, and just go right. I mean, Guardiola has some good shots actually against Arsenal, to be fair. But anyway, that's maybe a different kind of fish. Baz, Martinelli or Trossard?
Going to have a different. I'll go for Trossard because he's got a higher ceiling in my eyes. How he performed at obviously Brighton, and he carried that form back ended last season for Arsenal. So I think he's going to potentially kick on. That's if he's not rotated, because my theory probably will be because he got sent off.
I think Scott's totally right in terms of the Carabao Cup minutes, though, because he's going to miss Carabao Cup, so he'll probably play at the weekend. So because he won't play a minute this week, midweek. So actually, it could end up working out in his favour that he's got sent off to then play the Prem at the weekend. But long story short, guys, if you're going to spend money on transfers this week, Arsenal's your priority, and that's why we spent half an hour talking about getting these players in. However you can do, you need those assets in. They look very, very, very good. Let's talk about the other couple of teams that we need to focus on briefly, and we don't need to spend too long on them because I think the assets are relatively obvious, especially due to injuries. The next 2 weeks, Brentford have 2 home games, West Ham at home and Wolverhampton Wanderers at home. if anything, West Ham have gone backwards under Lopetegui so far this season. That's what the statisticians like to say anyway. Well, Wolves are just bad, really, aren't they? So this is obviously injured. Anyone other than Mbumo, lads, who we'd look to get in from Brentford? Anyone? I know Scott won't have looked any deeper into this other than maybe watching Match of the Day and seeing someone that caught his eye.
Yeah, I do sort of I watch all the analysis and stuff, but I'll be honest, a lot of the analysis is on that. Lewis Potter's looked pretty decent, but the rest I'll just hand over to Baz because he's probably going to, name more.
Anyone else at Brentford other than Mbumo worth investing in, Baz?
I think Flecken's obviously doing really well. If he's my keeper at the moment, that's one reason why I'm potentially not going to wildcard, because obviously I've got Flecken and Henderson. I think the balance between them two are really good. It makes obviously his save ratio is really high this season compared to last season. When he was in Germany, he was the highest, I believe, when I did my preseason stats the season before.
It was.
Defensively look sound, and obviously West Ham look really blunt going forward. So you could look at maybe a Collins as an aerial threat as well. West Ham not really great at set pieces in my eyes, to be honest. They don't really. They've got Mavropanos and Kilman.
Yeah.
Kilman obviously attacks the ball very well, but I think Collins is more of an aerial threat than them pair. Obviously you could go for my shout, Carvalho, but will he start? It's different, but I think Lewis Potter was playing like a left back, so yeah.
So Baz has just listed the whole Brentford team, everyone. And also
so that's why I would go for Lewis Potter, because of
they've also said they look great. They look good defensively. Not kept a clean sheet this season, but yeah, I think Mbumo is the most underrated player ever in the Premier League.
Woof, ever. I like that. I think he is in the. I would say agree in Premier League right now. I think it's very hard to argue against that this season in particular.
100 Premier League appearances and basically 50 goals / assists. He's only 25. Why is he not linked with more big clubs?
I don't get it. 4 goals in 5 appearances this season as well.
Just does it all the time.
Don Flames. We've obviously got him in our draft team, haven't we, lads? And I'd love to have him in my team now. If I could afford to get him in as well this week, I would. I nearly went Jota out for him in last week, but then I thought, well, I can't drop Jota at home against Bournemouth. Why would I do that?
Yeah, I should have.
Boomo scored. Call myself the guru. Guru Shmuru. Yeah, Boomo. That's it. Do it. Other team, which a lot of us have touched on, I think, this week in our differential draft, not to ruin the spoilers. Spoiler alert, is Bournemouth. Southampton at home, Leicester away. So they have got the same fixtures as Arsenal, basically, except the other way around, near enough. So yeah, Southampton at home, Leicester away for Bournemouth. They have scored 5 goals in 5 games, conceded 8. They've only won once all season, couple of draws. And that one game they did win was that 3-2 comeback win against Everton. Their top scoring player is Semenya. I think that's relatively obvious. He's looked really good playing sort of off that right-hand side midfield at 5.6 million, 2 goals and 1 assist. Tavernier popping up with some points as well, and Sinisterra again in that game against Everton getting that goal and the assist. Should we be I think if we're looking at main FPL right now, we're probably not spending a transfer on any of these players on this screen right now. I mean, maybe Semenya comes in to maybe free up some funds with Jota to maybe get a Saka in or something along those lines. I don't mind that move at all, especially if you're wildcarding in a couple of weeks. But if you're looking at your draft team right now, in particular, Scott, are you looking at those 2 fixtures coming up and thinking, I might take a punt on a Tavernier, a Sinisterra, maybe an Adam Smith at the back, someone like that?
Yeah, you're looking at taking a punt for your draft, but other than that, they've not looked too good at Bournemouth this season. I think when we get to the draft, it was more like the defensive asset for me personally. I was looking at just because they're playing Southampton, who have not started the season well. I think that Leicester away will be trickier than a lot of people will think. I think Leicester, I expect them to start getting going at some point. But yeah, I think it's fine if you've got sort of them fringy players that you kind of rotating in draft every week. Well, when they've got good fixtures, yeah. But they've not done much for me this season.
But yeah, I think that's very fair. Baz, anything to add on that before we do one of my favourite teams we're going to talk about so far that I've just typed into the screen for YouTube watchers? Anything to add on Bournemouth, Baz?
No, not really, apart from Tavernier. He's got the fourth highest XG behind Garnacho, Diaz, and who's the other midfielder?
Probably one of United's again. No, we're on flames, lads.
It was. Let's have a look. It was. Great listening. This isn't it?
No, it's
Yeah.
fine. Well, for everyone,
And
whilst you
NJ.
look at that, is it Day?
Obviously.
Probably Dallo, obviously. Of course it is. I thought it'd be one of my boys. Everton have got Palace at home and Newcastle at home. Now, they're not the greatest fixtures in the world, but they do home games, and they are this, that, and the other, and they are Everton. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's got 2 goals and 1 assist. McNeil's got 1 goal and 2 assists. And Dye looks good. He's got 1 goal so far this season. Michael Keane scored the other one. Any of these guys potential enablers to free up funds to then get other people in as an 11th player? Would you look at McNeil or Ndiaye at 5.4 to try free up some funds, Scott? Anyone like that,
Yeah.
or especially in your draft team?
100%. Would look at Everton actually. Attacking wise, they've looked brilliant. They start games amazing. Last couple of games, it probably should have been 2 or 3-0 in half an hour. So attacking wise, they've looked decent. And Dwight McNeil's returns in the last 3 game weeks got 18 points in the last 3 game weeks. But the one I would be looking at is Ndiaye. Not as many points on paper, but going back to that iron test again, we've said it with Ramsey for Villa. If we do have people that we know listen to this podcast that don't really follow football, but they like a punt on fantasy football. Kept saying, keep Ramsey in your team, keep Ramsey in your team. He's looking good. He's going to return you.
Rogers.
No, yeah, sorry, Rogers, not Ramsey. Different Villa player. And he did. He's returned. And Ndiaye, he looks really good. He looks a real threat coming off that left. I think he comes off a lot. So yeah, I would be looking at him as an enabler because those fixtures on paper look decent. Palace, not started the season too strong. Newcastle looked shaky at the back. Ipswich is Ipswich, and then they got Fulham at home, Southampton away, looking poor, West Ham away, looking poor, and then it starts getting a bit trickier for me after that. But yeah, he would be the one for me that sticks out and go anywhere near the defence. But him, McNeil, or Ndiaye, or even a DCL if he's not injured, so good time to get on him.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, he has put the ball in it a couple of times, and he started every game. So, yeah, not doing too bad. Baz, let's have a look at your wildcard draft. Now, we talked about this on the podcast last week, that this week is a potential opportunity with a fixture swing for a few of the teams to have a look at wildcarding. Now, I think in a couple of weeks, it's probably a better move, but I have seen quite a few wildcard drafts out there. So I know you're obviously on your phone, I think, Baz, aren't you, at the moment with your screen?
I'm on my laptop, mate.
Oh, your laptop. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
There's a few players on here that we've obviously discussed already today. You've gone for the Raya shouting goal with Fabianski backup and then a really cheap defence. Then you've invested your money into midfield with Mbeumo, Salah, Rodgers, and Saka, and then Haaland and Watkins up top. Any players in here that you'd want to highlight in particular, or any ones that were close calls with other players, or any others like that you think they maybe must-haves?
Like I say, if you're trying to save some money and you need that first striker, I think Vardy's probably going to be a good shout for people. He's looking like he's back to his best. Yes, he probably might not play the full 90, but he gets on the score sheet or is there around the box. Diblin, if you need a cheap enabler as a midfielder, 4.5 million. I think he's worth a punt. Russell Martin's got a lot of faith in him. And probably that's about it, really, to be honest. Obviously, my defense is very weak, but they've got very good rotation all the way up to like game week 19, I think. So yeah,
Yes.
and that's including if,
Barry's graphic here for everyone.
yeah,
I did get it's a little maybe a little bit small for people to have a look on YouTube, but I'll just move it across. See, I'll move us up into that corner there. Yeah, you can see that there's some decent rotation. You've got at least three options every week, even on the mid fixtures, all the way up to game week 11. We
and
make a
then
couple of changes.
correct, yeah, and then obviously from game week 11, sorry, you'd be transferring like for example Everton out and Forest out, and you'd be getting Bournemouth and Brighton defender assets there, and they rotate all the way up nicely all the way up to game week 19. So yeah, he's wasting two transfers on defenders, but you've got at least three half decent fixtures.
I think
Defenders, starting defenders.
the only thing you're really missing here is probably a Liverpool defender, really, aren't you? And that's difficult to
Yeah,
factor in at these levels. All Canate's
but then
5.1 and he's
obviously
the
you won't be able
cheapest.
to, with that, you won't be able to afford like Mbumo, or I'd have to downgrade
Exactly.
Watkins to Havertz maybe to get that funds. So that could be a
Yeah.
potential option to do that. So yeah, there's plenty of room where, and I think defensively it's not great, but you know what I'm like with defenders, I don't really spend a lot on them. So yeah, I've got Raya there to cover clean sheets. So yeah,
Well, this team you've managed to get Salah, Saka, Haaland, Watkins, and Mbumo into it. So it's not that bad, is it? Let's be honest. You've got some big hitters in there, and especially with the fixtures, etc. A couple of Arsenal important in there as well moving forward. So thank you for putting that together, Baz. Let's
One
have a look.
one thing
Oh, go on,
one thing that surprised me this week as well. Sorry, you mentioned Russell Martin then. Do you remember Lucy Pinder, glamour model from like
yeah,
10 years
yeah,
ago?
yeah,
Yeah, they didn't
Oh,
know they were married. That was
yeah,
quite surprising when I found that out.
are they?
yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Russell.
I
Congratulations.
wasn't searching for Lucy Pinder, by the way. She just came up on my news feed.
You just had nuts on the brain, didn't you?
Oh, hey. Um, we got our results from game week 5 differential draft, and yeah, the man himself. Somebody, somebody absolutely destroyed us this week. Well done, Scott. Vicario, Dina, Madison, Mavadidi, and Duran. Madison and Mavadidi doing bits for you in your midfield, but that's 22 points between them. So, really well done to you there, Scott. I was second with XG United. Heung-min Son basically was my team. Got me 10 points out of my 14 I achieved. And then Baz, you got 10 points with your Ipswich side
Yeah,
that you put together.
yeah.
Lads, let's talk through our teams. We've done the draft before. We've come onto the podcast this week. So I'll start with you, Barry. If you want to talk through your team, which is the middle one here, B, and why you've chosen the players that you've chosen.
So I went crazy again. I went for everyone under 1% because I just thought the fixtures were quite nice for that. So straight away, my first pick was Kalia because Alisson's injured. Wolves are quite attacking at home, but I think Liverpool will obviously fend them off, and I think Kalia will make plenty of saves and also potential clean sheet. Kirkez, as Scott mentioned, Bournemouth assets defensively look good, and Kirkez can actually go forward quite well as well. So I went for him, and then as I mentioned with Tavernier's XG, it was too high to refuse, and I think his actual points of 18 points he's got this season are quite low compared to his XG. And I've gone for my boy Carvalho, 0.9. I had to get him in, and how bad West Ham was against Chelsea, I thought, well, it could be another onslaught again. And then Evan Nilsson, is he going to eventually score his first goal? So I thought I'd gamble on him at
You keep
0.3.
picking him, don't you? You keep
Yeah,
picking him.
he's gonna come good once. So yeah, so I thought, and he's good for a 0.3, a massive differential.
Yeah, he's a big difference. Scott, talk through your team for us.
Yeah. As we meant, what am I?
C.
See.
You see.
C. Lovely stuff. Kepa Arrizabalaga. What a great name. Yeah, he's done all right, but also that they're playing Southampton at home. So, decent chance under 1%. I'm going down. I'm going Dimber. He's in. He looks like a real stalwart in that Arsenal defence, then he's an Arsenal defender. And I've got one of the easiest fixtures on the calendar at home. And then I've gone for a couple of punts in midfield. I would say Sancho looks like he's going to be starting game zone again, looking decent. Only 1.2% homes against Brighton, who have shipped goals this season. Martinelli, we mentioned already, bit of a punt. I'll be honest, when I picked him, I just assumed Trossard was out. But obviously not, because life is a joke. And then my man DCL up front, under 5%, 98 scoring, and he's not injured. So yeah, I'm obsessed with home fixtures. So there we go. Everyone's playing at home.
Yeah, I mean, we've all got players playing at home, except for you've got Kelleher away, Baz, and I've got Bailey away against Ipswich. Everyone else has got home. Every other player's at home for us this week. I went Sells in goal because he was the only keeper left that I thought was worthwhile picking. And I went for the last keeper. I'd have definitely had both the other keepers that you've got over my keeper. He was my last choice. I was about to pick Kepa, and Scott picked him literally the pick before. So, yeah, fair play on that one. I'm not so happy with Sells, to be honest. I don't think he's a good pick at all. I think the other two are the better ones. I've got Zabarani at the back. Again, Southampton at home is the fixture for Bournemouth. I was going to pick Kirkez again, but Baz picked him before me, so I went for the other player that was going to play at the back. I just wanted a Bournemouth defender in the team. I think it made sense. Bailey Ipswich away, probably a good fixture, I think. And I think he'll start this time after getting 45 minutes last time out. Hudson-Odoi, Fulham at home, looks class. Gibbs White is out, I think. Again, I don't know if he's doing midweek. It's just even a suspension midweek as well and going to play. But I think Hudson-Odoi looks really class and dangerous. And then Wood up top, 8.5% owned. I think it's relatively obvious he's putting the ball in the net really well. Out of all the players on the screen, I think the optimum team that I'd picked in my head was Kepa. And I actually went for Calafiore over Timber in terms of my team players that I wanted, but it didn't really matter which. I think Calafiore probably stands just a slightly better chance of starting at left back. Slightly, but anyway, whatever. I think it's 6 1 and half dozen of the other in terms of rotation. It was Hudson-Odoi and Martinelli, and then Wood up front for me. That was probably my 5 of this lot that I thought was going to do the best. But yeah, looks. Baz, you're such a maverick, mate. under 1% every time. I don't know whether to get annoyed with you for trying to show off or whether to just be like fair play. What do you think, Scott?
Annoyed. I'm annoyed. I was annoyed the other day when I saw him coming in last night. I was like, I don't even know who that is. So that must be under 1%. I was pissed off.
You thought Carvalho was still at Liverpool, bro? Did
I thought it was a different Carvalho. I thought it was the one who was played for right back for Chelsea.
Okay. What a player. How's our punts going, Baz? So far for 3 weeks.
By the way, when we did this, I didn't know it was going to be like an official thing last week when you said it. So I just threw a couple of names out there randomly. Now it's cemented on a graphic. I didn't realise it was proper official.
Well, still beating me, mate.
I went with 2 Everton players.
You've got good fixtures.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but I didn't realise we would go, a punt, as in Ramsey, or Szoboszlai or Sancho. Yeah, whatever. I'm a bit, salty about that as well.
It's all right. Baz picks a Szoboszlai and people are selling him more than buying him, so
Yeah.
it's fine at the moment. Yeah, Baz, you're the only one who got a return, Mr. Sancho.
Yeah. So, like I say, I didn't think he was going to play the full 90 because he's only just kind of coming back to actual playing games and not being in Eric Ten Hag shadow. So he looked good obviously when he came on against Bournemouth. So I thought I'll get him in as a nice little punt. Obviously returned. First half he looked really good. Everything came down the left, and then second half he kind of just flicked out, and I wasn't surprised when he came off. And he's gone up massively. He's gone 0.7 to now 1.3% owned. So obviously people are joining on that bandwagon. And Szoboszlai obviously just got a clean sheet. He's gone down in value now. He's 2.4% owned. McNeil's gone up. Now he's 2.8 owned, so he's gone up quite a lot as well.
Wow, people are buying McNeil, are they?
Yeah,
that's a big buy.
So obviously everyone's doing that, and same with Calvert-Lewin. He's jumped up. He's gone up 1%. He's now 4.7. So and yours have just stayed the same, Alex. So
sounds about right, really. I think in terms of AI picks, though, I mean, the Everton lads probably look better on paper, Scott. So actually, I think you're all right. I think you're okay. I think that
No, I'm fine with the picks. I didn't realize it was an official thing, but whatever, we'll go with it. We'll see. I don't want Baz at the end of the season just there with his feet on the table, with a cigar out, going, "Oh yeah, my differential smashed it again."
I missed the
Again, it'll annoy.
differential, so
Yeah, it really annoys me. Anyway,
I'll play it properly then, shall I?
no, you do you.
AI transfers this week for the pod team are going to be Wood and Mbeumo win for Jota and João Pedro. So those are the two picks. I think they're quite straightforward this week. I think last week they were a little bit more sketchy, but they would have paid off. Whereas this week they are recommended, and we are definitely going to be doing those two transfers. I need to check
I like the
prices.
pun, I like the pun. Would I've played off. Yeah.
I should have done as well. Would have done. God, honestly, what a shambles. Scott, you're smashing the FPL challenge. Let's talk about that very briefly before we have a look at captains and the fixtures for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, sure.
This week we are looking. Last week was the Americas, wasn't it?
Yep. Last week was Americas. You only pick people from there.
And you went for. Let's have a look. Scott Williams in Alison Blunderland. Oh, is it going to tell me? Do you know what? It does annoy me, the challenge. It doesn't quite work exactly the same as the other one on the graphics. We had Martinez, Romero, beat Diaz, Buonanotte, and João Pedro, but Diaz carried you through by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think we all had Diaz captain. So I think they got, they just carried through, Buonanotte. It's pretty standard, but yeah, quite good these. I was going to touch on this week. If you want,
we've got Africa's talk about it.
So we've got players from Africa, unlimited budget. So some of them have had budget. This one is unlimited. I guarantee everyone who does this, you'll be having Onana as a keeper. Is the only option. So Onana in goal. Now you can with the challenge. You can choose 3 formations. You can do 1-2-1, 1-1-2, or 2-1-1. Now I've just had a quick look at sort of the teams I would go for each one. Obviously, Onana in goal for every single one. For a one back, I'm probably looking at Aina. So Forest look pretty solid at home to Fulham. You're going to have Salah in there. You're probably going to potentially have the captain's armband on him, and Mbeumo. I think pretty clear. And for me, I've got Nicholas Jackson up front at home to Brighton. He's returning. If you did want to go a bit different and go 1-1-2, Aina still at the back. I've gone for Salah. And I've just put Ndiaye up front. Again, we've mentioned him already. Looks pretty solid for Everton. Nice fixture at home to Palace. And if you've got what Baz says, gambling problems and decide to go 2 at the back, I've just put Mazraoui in there for Man United. But again, not something I'll be looking at. For me, this week, I'll be favouring the 2 midfielders. I don't think you can go without Salah and Mbeumo. I think the defence and the strikers is the area where you might have a little bit of a wiggle room. I think, to be fair though, Nicholas Jackson's pretty solid as a striker. So I think your differential will probably be your defender there. But yeah, not the biggest week with the biggest options, this one.
Yeah, it feels like front 3 are relatively nailed, doesn't it? And then it's kind of what you want to do in these ones, isn't it? Really, it feels that way. I think it's always difficult to in the start. They really narrow it down in terms of who you can pick, but I know they're trying to do different things for the challenge, aren't they? And it's good fun every week. It's good punt. I think that's what we'll say. That's for sure. Right, lads. Fixtures for this week. We have got the early kickoff. The deadline is at 11 o'clock on Saturday, the 28th of September. Newcastle play Manchester City at St James's Park live on TNT Sports at 12:30. Then it's Arsenal against Leicester, Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea, Brighton, Everton, Crystal Palace, and Forest Fulham are the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Liverpool are away at Molineux at 5:30 on Sky Sports. Then we've got Ipswich at home to Aston Villa on Sunday. Man United at home to Spurs, which is likely to be a cracker. I'm looking forward to that one. And Bournemouth, Southampton, Monday Night Football. Hell of a Monday Night Football, really. But we'll see what happens there. Looking forward to that show, as always. Few captaincy options here this week, I think, lads. We've got the away option of Salah against Wolves. Bottom of the league, Wolves. Bottom of the league, I think, aren't they? It's bottom or second bottom. They're only got 1 point. Them, Southampton and Everton are all on 1 point, aren't they? They bottom. You've got Aston Villa against Ipswich, who are obviously one of the more open teams. You've got your Salahs, your Diaz's, you've got your Watkins. You've also got, of course, Arsenal at home against Leicester for your Sakas, and potentially other options as well at Arsenal, but probably Saka being the best. Who are you leaning towards at this very moment in time? Barry.
It's captain on Salah at the moment due to the fact obviously I haven't done my transfers yet, and obviously I'll be getting Saka in. So it is a debate between Saka, Watkins, or Salah. So I might get the wheel out again and give it a spin.
Scott, your thoughts on this? Are we looking at a team like Wolves being that poor? You've got to go with someone like Salah is that good, or are we looking at the home fixture? Really, I think that's probably the two main options.
I'm a bit of a, as we know, I'm a bit of a home whore, so I do like home fixtures. So I get a bit worried when teams play away. City, I don't like an early kickoff. St James is back, should be a fairly tough place to go. I think for me, it'd be nice if I can get Saka in. I think the armband is pretty nailed on Saka. I think Arsenal is they want to come out and just show actually what we can do. I can see that being, I can see 5-0 that game. So it would go on Saka. I wouldn't gamble on a Martinelli though, just because of rotation risk. I don't want him coming on for 1 point and only getting 2 for my captain. So I think I'll be leaning towards him. I think, again, I always think it's a little bit different when teams are on TV as well. So I feel like Ipswich at home will be a tougher fixture than maybe if it wasn't on TV at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. So maybe not a Villa player. So yeah, my armband would be on Saka. If I didn't have Saka, it would be on Salah. And if you've not got any of them, maybe playing the game wrong. Don't know. Maybe not. But maybe you've probably got Palmer to put it on. Maybe put on Palmer.
Yeah, fair. The points predictions on Fantasy Football Hub have Haaland top against Newcastle away at 8.1, Salah at 7.8, and then Saka at 7.3, Palmer 7.1. Then it's Havertz, Son, Zurez, Gabriel is higher above Watkins at 5.8, which I thought was quite a low points prediction for someone like Watkins. But yeah, the like Newcastle away early kickoff, Haaland could, Haaland's like he could obviously put the ball in the net, scored 100 goals in 105 games or something, hasn't he? Something crazy. So he's obviously done amazing there. But yeah, Salah is the predicted points is higher than Saka's by 0.5. So I think if it's between the two of them, AI is telling us to go for Salah. But I do think, Arsenal at home against Leicester, Saka is a more than fine option. I can't. Honestly, I'll say it again, and it's a bit of a broken record thing. Baz, just get the wheel out, mate. And in all honesty, it could literally go either way for you. This is where FPL it's just luck. Like it's just luck. You put your captain on any of those 3 guys, and like if the other one bangs and you don't have them, it's just bad luck. So just don't worry about it. Move on. I think that's the only way to put it. It's not an obvious mistake. I think if you're sat there with Salah and Saka in and you put your captain's armband on Watkins Ipswich away with a TV game, I think that's probably the gamble captain, which is the still like not crazy stupid gamble captain, but it's just sort of your like a little bit more out there captaincy pick. But yeah, it's between Salah and Saka this week for me, and I think that's relatively straightforward. Would you like to disagree with that, Scott, at all? Or I know you're. Nah, I think
I agree with you, mate. I think that's some great sentiment there. Well done.
Thanks.
You know what you're talking about. You just don't play the game very well.
That's very true. Game weeks 3 and 4 have proved that. It's such a good start as well. Anyway, thanks ever so much for joining us this week, lads. Don't forget to share this with your friends. Tell them all about it. Tell them that this is where I got that really bad fantasy football advice that's maybe be bottom of the league, unless you're Scott Williams. Go on, Scott.
Yeah, quick one. Sorry. All in Football fantasy show, isn't it, on Spotify? I've been telling people All in Football, and that's
all
not
in football.
quite...
Yeah, All in Football FPL show. That's what it is.
Yes. So if you look on Spotify, that's it. You've only got like still us, but it's like one random episode from ages ago. So I realised that today. So this is why we haven't got 1 million followers yet.
Are they all following that account that Martin Wheel made by
Yeah,
accident back in the day?
they're waiting for Martin to upload.
Still waiting for us to put it onto that one. But yeah, don't forget to give us 5 stars where you get your podcasts from, and also click the little alert button, and then you'll be let to know when you get them, when we release them. Don't forget to give us a like on YouTube, and you guys like it. If you've watched it, give it a like, sign in, get it done. Helps get it boosted across other platforms and everything else. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Join our legions of subscribers across the world. Yeah, don't forget to follow us on social media platforms, Audible Pod, or P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, where we do most of our tweeting and Instagramming. And I keep promising to do more TikToking, but I just hate the damn app, so it really just winds me up. But I will try. I will still try. I do promise. Barry, thanks for joining us from behind the wheel of your car.
Thank you.
He is stationary, podcast listeners. And Scott, thank you ever so much for joining us.
You're welcome, Baz. I'm sorry, I've been looking at your muscle pretty much all the way through that show. It's looking good, mate. Well done.
Mate, thanks.
Everyone's looking great on this podcast. That's a lot of love to finish off with, and goodbye for now.